Many people have portraits of their husband.
That's true. And this was found in the villa of Livia, and Livia was Augustus's wife, and it was found in her villa, the villa at Primaporta.
Most people now have just a photograph of their husband in their home, not a full-scale marble sculpture.
Not usually.
But that's exactly what Livia had.
Except that, although this was found there in her home, these sculptures had enormous political significance. I mean, they were filled with Roman political ideology, as was so much ancient Roman art.
Well, this was probably a copy of a bronze which would have been used in a much more public environment.
And probably many, many copies were made, and this is just one that has happened to survive. And it was important for the emperor to distribute his image throughout the empire, and so many copies were made of images of the emperor.
Well, this is long before photography, of course, and so most people would never actually get to see the emperor. So you distributed the likeness and, in a sense, the attributes of the ruler through sculpture and through painting.
And likeness is a good word because it's like Augustus, but not exactly Augustus, because surely this is idealized. He's made to look younger, handsomer, more athletic, but we can identify his features across many different sculptures.
Augustus is a complicated figure. He says that he is reestablishing the Senate, but he does that as a strategy to, in fact, consolidate power to become Rome's first true emperor.
That's right, and he does that at quite a young age, whereas the rulers of the ancient Roman Republic were old, experienced men. There was an age requirement for holding office during the Republic. In this new era, ushered in by Augustus of the empire, he wants to communicate a very different image, one where he is more godlike, he's youthful, he's more transcendent.
So we have the ruler of the empire who is using this sculpture as a way of communicating how he wants to be understood, in a sense, what he wants to represent to his public, to those that he rules.
The identity that he wants to portray and communicate is godlike and very much recalling the ancient Greeks, the golden age of Pericles of 5th century BC in Athens.
So how does he do that? Well, for one thing, the proportions of his body is following the canon. That is, a sculpture that we now call the Doryphorus by Polykleitos from ancient Greece, a sculpture that showed the beauty of the body. And so here he's taking on that Greek ideal.
In a way, he's saying, I am going to create a golden age, just like the golden age of Greece from the 5th century BC. So I'm going to show myself like the famous sculpture from that period.
And he's then moving on to show us that he has what it takes to do that. For one thing, down at his ankle, pulling at his hem, is Cupid.
And Cupid was the son of the goddess Venus. Augustus traced his ancestry back to Aeneas, the founder of Rome, and Aeneas was the son of Venus. So by putting Cupid down there, we're meant to remember that Augustus is descended from a goddess.
So Augustus is saying that he is actually in part divine.
And also, not only did he say he was descended from Venus through Aeneas, but he also said he was the son of the god Julius Caesar.
That's an actual human being who has been deified, made into a god subsequently.
Right, by Augustus. And so he's got God written all over him. And in fact, he literally does on his breastplate, where we see the god of the sky and the goddess of the earth. And so all of the divine forces come together here for Augustus's rule.
This breastplate, it's probably a thick leather cuirass that is embossed with scenes that are almost a kind of personal resume. The most important scene shows the Romans reclaiming their standards from the Parthians.
Augustus had defeated this older enemy of Rome, the Parthians, who had taken their standards in an earlier battle. So the fact that the Parthians are shown here returning the standards is a significant gesture of defeat and acknowledgement of the power of Rome.
So we have a man that is of divine origin, that is a brilliant military leader, that is shown ennobled in the tradition of the great ancient Greeks. This is tremendously powerful visual propaganda.